Okay, I decided to rent an apartment not far from where my sister lived. I had lived with my sister for a while. Anyway, I decided to rent an apartment I'd say it's about a mile and a half from her home. Um, and I needed to be on my own anyways, because I had lived with her for a time. And when I first moved into this particular apartment, it was quite quiet. This is like a duplex, but it's only a 2 unit. Like there's an upstairs and a downstairs unit. I was in the downstairs unit because Carl couldn't walk stairs. Um, anyways, it was a quite quiet place until my neighbors went to a cemetery and knocked over an urn. Um, it, the urn was next to a grave for a young lady that had passed away. I'm going to say she was 16 when she passed, I think. Anyway, the parents had put her dog's ashes in the urn next to her grave, and they were messing around with stuff and they knocked it over. And when they came home that day, it was kind of they were quite noisy that day, I should say, when they came home. They were often drunk, and I do believe they used illegal substances. We're not going to get into that. Anyways, they were quite loud that day, and I kind of just ignored their noise because it's not unusual for them to be noisy. And I continued to watch TV, and I was holding my daughter in my arms. She was a baby at the time. And everything was quiet until they shut the door on their apartment. And it wasn't from them. The noise came from my back bedroom, where my dogs would stay in the summer because it was cooler, because there was a cold air vent that would come up from the basement and bring up cold air. While I had two Springer Spaniels, they would sit under, it was like a ledge or a desk in the room, but there was a cold air vent underneath. And there were like maybe two drawers in there. It was like a little desk that you would pull up to, or like a vanity or whatever. But it wasn't quite a window seat because it was kind of too high for a window seat. So I want to say it was a desk. Maybe it was a window seat. Not sure. But anyway, my dogs would sit under there in the summertime to be cooler. Anyways, they came thundering into the living room, all whining and whimpering and making all kinds of noise. And they ran behind me, and I had a desk in my apartment where I'd keep my computer. Um, it was just a habit that I had, and they ran under there, and they were just all upset. And I kind of looked back at them, and I was kind of like, well, that's kind of weird. And then all of a sudden, I felt the hair on the back of my neck stand up, and this black entity walked into the hallway where I could see it. And it just walked out the door that would lead out to the hallway where my neighbors had come in. I was like, oh my goodness. And immediately I said, in the name of Jesus Christ, be gone, be gone from here, go back to where you came from. And then I stopped myself and I said, on second thought, go up and harass my neighbors. And I don't know why I said it, but I did. And they assumed they were haunted. Part of this haunting was me. But I can't say that odd things did not happen around the house. Things would be moved. Things would fall off a shelf, which would be unusual. They were rather loud neighbors. So sometimes when they were really loud at night, I would take a broom and knock it on the ceiling. And they thought it was the entity doing it. They did tell me that they knocked over the urn later on. I would deny anything that I did, okay? Another time they showed me claw marks in the wall, and I looked below and there was a saw sitting there. But I'm not going to say he was not haunted, because he had cats and he was playing with one of them, and he had like a cap to a beer bottle or a soda bottle. You know, those ones you can like twist off or you pop off with a church key. Well, it rolled across the table and onto the floor, and he couldn't find it. And they cleaned that whole entire room trying to find this bottle cap. And they swept it and everything, and they still couldn't find it. And 2 days later, the bottle cap they were looking for was sitting on the kitchen table. Anyways, that's my story for that. And I'm sorry to those particular neighbors that I did a bad thing and like made you think your apartment was more haunted than it really was. But I did see the entity walk out of my apartment and into the hallway. I was almost floored. I'm sorry I'm laughing about it, but it might have been scary at the time. But what I did was kind of funny, but kind of mean at the same time. I hope you guys are better neighbors now. Anyways, that's my story for that. If you like this sort of thing, please drop a comment, subscribe, hit like, and thank you for watching. Remember, these videos are all in honor of Carl. Catch y'all later.